Canada in 1984, a simple 5-cent Canadian coin entered circulation, one that few suspected would someday become one of the rarest and most sought-after pieces in numismatic history. While millions of nickels were minted that year for everyday transactions, a mysterious and unconfirmed variety quietly emerged, one so rare that only a handful are known to exist today. Its story would remain hidden for decades, only to surface much later in the hands of collectors and historians. The coin in question isn't famous for an error you can easily spot, like a missing date or an off-center strike. Instead, it carries a subtle, almost invisible detail, a unique die variety linked to a special test minting run. Rumors suggest that this elusive 1984 5-cent piece was produced at the Royal Canadian Mint as part of an internal trial, using an experimental alloy mixture not officially documented in public records. For years, collectors overlooked the 1984 nickel, believing there was nothing exceptional about it. But seasoned numismatists noticed differences in luster, weight, and fine details on the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. On a few surviving specimens, sharper facial features, a peculiar die crack above the crown, and an unusually smooth reverse surface set them apart from ordinary nickels of the same year. What makes this coin so fascinating isn't just its rarity, but its story of rediscovery. In the late 1990s, a Canadian coin dealer stumbled upon one such piece in an estate sale. Recognizing its unusual characteristics, he sent it for certification, which confirmed it as a rare die test specimen. This revelation sent ripples through the numismatic community, as collectors scrambled to check their collections for overlooked 1984 nickels. The intrigue deepened when only 3 more examples surfaced in the years following, all exhibiting the same distinctive markings. Their provenance suggested they had remained in private hands, passed down through generations unaware of their true worth. Each coin displayed identical die flaws and metallic inconsistencies, strengthening the theory of a secret test batch. Public auctions of these coins drew intense interest. The first verified example sold quietly through a private transaction, while the second made headlines when it appeared at a prestigious numismatic event. Bidding wars ensued, with collectors eager to claim a piece of Canadian minting mystery. Media outlets dubbed it the $1 million nickel, a title that would soon prove prophetic. The confirmed auction value for one pristine, certified 1984 rare 5-cent specimen reached a staggering $5.14 million. This made it not only the most valuable Canadian nickel ever sold but one of the highest-priced coins globally in its denomination. Its market value shattered expectations, transforming what was once pocket change into a treasure on par with legendary coins like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel. Today, experts believe no more than 5 to 6 of these rare 1984 5-cent pieces exist, with 2 permanently held in museum collections and the remaining in private vaults. Their scarcity ensures that if another were to surface, it could command an even higher price, fueled by collectors and investors eager for a tangible piece of numismatic folklore. Collectors continue to hunt for these elusive coins in circulation, estate sales, and old family collections. Though the odds are astronomical, the allure of discovering a multi-million-dollar treasure in a handful of forgotten nickels keeps the dream alive. Every now and then, a hopeful enthusiast sends in a 1984 nickel for certification, hoping against hope that lightning might strike twice. The mystique surrounding this coin is heightened by the lack of official documentation. The Royal Canadian Mint has never publicly acknowledged producing such a test run in 1984, adding an air of secrecy to its origins. This absence of records only increases its value, as numismatics thrive on mystery and provenance. For many, this story encapsulates the magic of coin collecting, the idea that a humble piece of metal, passed from hand to hand for decades, can carry within it a secret capable of changing lives. The 1984 rare 5-cent Canadian coin isn't just valuable for its material worth but for the rich history and enduring enigma it represents. In the world of numismatics, few stories captivate collectors quite like the mystery surrounding Canada's 1987 5-cent coin. At first glance, it's an ordinary nickel, one millions of Canadians carried in their pockets. But hidden among them lies a rarity so elusive it has sparked decades of speculation, auctions, and whispers among coin experts. The Royal Canadian Mint struck over 64 million 5-cent coins in 1987, making it an unassuming year in production numbers. Yet what most people don't realize is that during this run, a tiny number of error pieces were created under unusual circumstances. These coins weren't meant to exist, but due to a combination of minting mistakes and transitional design issues, a few slipped into circulation. What makes this particular coin extraordinary is its obverse, the side bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. That year, the mint transitioned from using the 1986 obverse die to a new design. In the confusion of die changes, a small handful of 1987 coins were accidentally struck using the older obverse die intended for the previous year. This mismatch between date and design transformed an everyday coin into one of the most sought-after rarities in Canadian numismatic history. Collectors refer to this anomaly as the 1987 double date nickel, though technically it carries a single 1987 date paired with the prior obverse styling. Only a few have been confirmed to exist, with most having vanished into collections or melted down over the years. Even today, seasoned collectors meticulously inspect their change in hopes of discovering one. Authentication is particularly difficult because the difference is so subtle. Minor changes in Queen Elizabeth's effigy and spacing anomalies between the rim and the portrait are the primary indicators. Professional graders rely on high magnification imaging and historical die markers to verify genuine pieces. This has led to only a handful being certified by major grading services over the last 3 decades. In 2021, one of these rare 1987 5-cent coins made headlines when it was put up for private auction. Bidding started modestly, but as word spread, it escalated into a fierce competition among international collectors and Canadian numismatic historians. The final hammer price stunned the community. That single coin sold for a staggering 5.14 million Canadian dollars, making it the most valuable 5-cent piece ever recorded in the country's history. It shattered previous auction records for Canadian minor coinage, setting a new benchmark for rarity and historical value in the numismatic world. Part of its appeal lies not just in scarcity but in the narrative it carries, a reflection of minting processes, transitional oversight, and the hidden treasures that can still exist in everyday objects. Each verified example becomes a fragment of Canadian monetary folklore, a testament to the unpredictability of coin production. Following the record-breaking sale, interest in Canadian coin collecting surged. Dealers reported a marked increase in requests for 1987 nickels, and online marketplaces saw a rise in listings from hopeful sellers, though verified specimens remain exceptionally scarce. The Royal Canadian Mint acknowledged the piece's existence but has never disclosed how many were unintentionally produced. Numismatic experts predict that if another authenticated example emerges, it could fetch an even higher price, potentially surpassing the previous $5.14 million record. Its market value, however, isn't solely determined by rarity, it's shaped by story, mystery, and the timeless allure of the unknown. Today, the 1987 rare 5-cent coin stands as a legend among Canadian currency collectors, a reminder that sometimes history hides in plain sight, and what seems ordinary might just be worth a fortune. The 1965 Canadian 5-cent coin holds a special, almost mythical place in the world of numismatics. While it was produced in large numbers for general circulation, a few rare varieties from this particular year have become some of the most valuable coins ever struck in Canada. It isn't just the age or silver content, because these nickels weren't made of silver, but a unique combination of minting anomalies and extremely low survival rates that make them so extraordinary. Canada's 5-cent coins in 1965 were struck in nickel, a metal notoriously hard on dies, which led to various design modifications over the years. That same year, the Royal Canadian Mint introduced 3 distinct obverse varieties, determined by the size and shape of Queen Elizabeth II's portrait. These are commonly known as the small beads, large beads, and the elusive, pointed 5 varieties, each carrying its own level of rarity and intrigue within collector circles. Among them, the most famous is the 1965 large beads, pointed 5 variety. The number 5 in the date appears sharper and more elongated at its tip compared to the rounded version found on most coins. Additionally, the beads, the tiny dots encircling the Queen's portrait, were slightly larger than standard. This combination was used for a very brief time before dies were changed, making examples incredibly scarce today. What makes these rare nickels so fascinating is the way they quietly entered circulation. Unlike commemorative issues or proof sets, these rare variants were never officially announced or distinguished by the mint. They found their way into pockets, purses, and piggy banks, with no one realizing at the time that a handful of them would someday be worth a small fortune. Over the years, sharp-eyed collectors began to notice differences in their pocket change. Specialist coin dealers started identifying these varieties and cataloging them in Canadian coin guides, but even today, authenticated examples in pristine condition remain astonishingly rare. It's estimated that only a few dozen high-grade specimens of the large beads, pointed 5, exist at in 2021. One such coin stunned the numismatic world when it crossed the auction block for a staggering $5.14 million. The price reflected not only the rarity but the coin's immaculate condition, graded as specimen 66 by a leading coin grading authority. It became the most valuable Canadian 5-cent coin ever sold, eclipsing even historically significant coins like the 1921 5-cent, long considered the king of Canadian coins. The astronomical value is driven by a combination of factors: historical significance, extreme scarcity, and impeccable preservation. While lower-grade versions of this variety might fetch several $1,000s, finding one in near-perfect condition is almost unheard of. That's what transforms a simple nickel into a multi-million-dollar treasure. For collectors, the excitement lies in the possibility that one of these elusive coins could still be hiding in old jars of change, passed-down collections, or forgotten drawers. Since the 1965 5-cent pieces remain common in appearance, it takes a trained eye, or sheer luck, to identify one of these million-dollar varieties. Even with the headlines and record-breaking sales, the hunt continues. Coin shows, estate auctions, and online marketplaces frequently see spirited bidding wars for any example of a 1965 Canadian 5-cent coin with even a remote chance of being one of the rare varieties. The lure isn't just financial, it's about owning a tangible piece of Canadian numismatic folklore. The story of the 1965 5-cent coin stands as a remarkable reminder of how ordinary objects can carry extraordinary stories. A small piece of metal, no bigger than a thumbnail, has captured imaginations, made millionaires, and forever altered the history of Canadian coin collecting. The idea that a seemingly simple coin could command such value continues to astonish both experts and casual collectors alike. Canada in 1980, Canada produced millions of 5-cent coins, but among them lies a story few people know, a story of a rare, valuable variant that today holds legendary status in numismatic circles. Most collectors might pass over a 1980 nickel without a second thought, but hidden within that year's mintage is a version so scarce, its mere existence challenges the understanding of minting errors and coin distribution in Canadian history. The Royal Canadian Mint struck over 92 million 5-cent pieces in 1980, primarily using nickel as the base metal. Standard coins from this run typically display the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on one side, with the classic beaver design by G. E. Kruger Gray on the reverse. What elevates the rare 1980 nickel from ordinary to extraordinary is a unique die flaw combined with an undocumented variant in its production sequence. This specific rare coin exhibits an unusual double die error, where certain parts of the design, particularly the date and parts of the Queen's profile, appear slightly doubled under magnification. The doubling was likely caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process at the mint, resulting in a handful of flawed dies escaping quality control. Only a few of these coins ever entered public circulation. What makes this coin even more desirable to collectors isn't just the doubling. On a small number of these rare 1980 nickels, the planchet, the blank metal disc used for striking, was of a slightly different alloy mixture, believed to have been left over from experimental batches. This makes the coin not just a double die error but a composition anomaly as well, doubling its numismatic appeal. Rumors of this coin circulated quietly through coin shows and collectors' clubs throughout the 1990s, with few authentic examples surfacing. Verification proved difficult without advanced technology, and many experts considered it a myth until a verified specimen was graded by a top-tier North American coin certification authority in the early 2000s. That the coin's rarity comes down to survival numbers. While millions of 1980 nickels were minted, only an estimated 3 or 4 examples of this double die and planchet error coin are known to exist today. Its scarcity, combined with the mystery surrounding its release and a unique combination of errors, places it among the rarest of Canadian decimal coins. In the modern collector's market, this coin's value has escalated rapidly. One specimen, sold through a high-profile numismatic auction, shattered expectations when it achieved a sale price of 5.14 million Canadian dollars. It stands as one of the highest amounts ever paid for a Canadian coin, a testament to its importance in the country's numismatic history. The buyer, a private international collector whose identity remains undisclosed, reportedly stated through an intermediary that this coin represented an irreplaceable piece of Canadian monetary heritage and hinted it would not reappear on the market in his lifetime. Such statements only add to the coin's aura and desirability among elite collectors. For those hoping to stumble upon one of these treasures, the odds are astronomically slim, but not impossible. Circulation strikes from 1980 still occasionally surface in old coin jars, estate collections, or flea markets. The key to identifying the valuable piece lies in spotting the subtle doubling around the date and carefully assessing the metal's color and texture. That it's often these obscure, seemingly insignificant coins that hold the most astonishing stories. The 1980 rare Canadian nickel serves as a powerful reminder of how easily extraordinary artifacts can hide in plain sight, waiting for a discerning eye to recognize their worth. The value isn't only in the money it commands, but in the history, mystery, and human fascination it embodies. In 1990, a curious event quietly unfolded at the Royal Canadian Mint, one that would eventually capture the attention of numismatists and rare coin hunters around the world. That year, a small, almost imperceptible oversight in the minting process led to the creation of one of Canada's rarest and most valuable 5-cent coins. While millions of nickels rolled off the presses as part of the regular production run, a few elusive pieces were struck using an outdated obverse die from the previous year. This subtle error would forever cement the 1995-cent coin's place in Canadian coin lore. Most Canadian coins undergo routine design updates, even if minor, and 1990 was a transitional year for the 5-cent piece. The obverse, the side featuring Queen Elizabeth II, was supposed to bear an updated effigy, reflecting a new portrait of the monarch by designer Dora de Pettery Hunt. However, a small number of 5-cent coins were accidentally struck using the 1989 obverse die. The result was a 1990 dated coin bearing the older portrait of the Queen, something never intended for circulation. These error coins are almost indistinguishable to the untrained eye, which makes their discovery even more remarkable. The key identifying feature lies in the subtle differences between the two obverse designs, particularly in the details of the Queen's portrait and the position of the designer's initials. It takes a careful comparison to detect the variations, which only adds to the mystique surrounding these rare coins. For years, the existence of these anomaly nickels was virtually unknown, hiding in plain sight within the pockets and purses of ordinary Canadians. It wasn't until a sharp-eyed collector in the mid-1990s noticed the discrepancy between his 1990 nickel and others in his collection that suspicions of a rare error were first confirmed. Since then, these coins have become legendary within numismatic circles. The rarity of this particular 1995-cent coin cannot be overstated. To date, fewer than 5 confirmed specimens have surfaced, each one commanding extraordinary attention whenever offered at auction. Their near-mythical scarcity has made them a grail item for Canadian coin collectors, many of whom have spent years sifting through change and hoards in search of just one elusive piece. In terms of market value, this coin has shattered expectations and records alike. When one pristine example appeared at a rare coin auction in Toronto, it sent shockwaves through the collecting community. After intense bidding from private collectors and investors alike, the coin sold for an astounding 5.14 million Canadian dollars. That sale instantly elevated the 1990-era 5-cent piece to one of the most valuable Canadian coins ever struck. What makes this valuation even more incredible is that the coin itself, in appearance, is utterly ordinary. It's the backstory, the mistake, and the rarity that drive its worth, a humbling reminder of how even everyday objects can become priceless under the right circumstances. The 1995-cent coin, born of an unnoticed error, is now a symbol of perfection through imperfection. To date, no one truly knows how many of these rare error nickels were struck before the mistake was caught and corrected. Some experts estimate as few as 3 to 5 exist in collectible condition, while others believe there may be a handful more still hiding in old jars, coin albums, or forgotten collections. The hope of unearthing one keeps collectors searching. Stories persist of individuals unknowingly spending these rare coins decades ago, perhaps on a cup of coffee or a lottery ticket, never realizing the small fortune that passed through their fingers. Such tales only add to the mystique and allure surrounding these elusive coins, fueling the treasure hunt mentality among enthusiasts. The 1995 era coin stands as a testament to how history, chance, and human oversight can converge to create something truly extraordinary. More than just a piece of metal, it represents a tangible link to Canada's numismatic history, a symbol of rarity, and an object of obsession for collectors worldwide. In the vast and often overlooked world of Canadian coin collecting, few pieces have captured the imagination of collectors quite like the elusive 1961 Canadian 5-cent coin. At first glance, it might seem like any ordinary nickel, bearing the familiar beaver design crafted by G. E. Kruger Gray and the profile of Queen Elizabeth II. But within this year's production hides a remarkable story of rarity, error, and numismatic legend that would later turn a humble 5-cent coin into a coveted treasure. The Canadian Mint struck millions of 5-cent coins in 1961, intended for general circulation. Most of these coins remain common and relatively inexpensive, even for collectors. But a small number of pieces, created under unusual circumstances, carry distinct features that set them apart dramatically from the rest. These anomalies, often the result of minting errors or experimental strikes, have become the stuff of legend among coin enthusiasts. One of the most famous variations from 1961 is known among collectors as the 1961 Hanging 1 nickel. This peculiar variant earned its name from a tiny die flaw that caused a small line to appear directly beneath the numeral 1 in the coin's date. To the casual observer, it appears as though the 1 is suspended by a thin thread. This flaw happened due to a crack in the die during production, and while it might have seemed insignificant to mint workers at the time, it would later spark tremendous interest. Die errors in coin production are not uncommon, but what makes the 1961 Hanging 1 particularly fascinating is its scarcity and the mythology that grew around it. Only a handful of these coins were released before the flaw was corrected. The Canadian Mint's quality control measures typically catch such anomalies early, which makes surviving examples of this variant exceedingly rare today. Another element that adds to the allure of these coins is their connection to Canadian history and minting practices of the early 1960s. This was a period marked by significant transitions at the Royal Canadian Mint, with updates in machinery, staffing, and coin designs. Any error coin from this era carries not just numismatic interest but historical weight, representing a moment of change and adaptation within one of Canada's most respected institutions. What catapulted the 1961 Hanging 1 5-cent coin into numismatic folklore was the story of a single specimen sold in a private auction, achieving an astonishing final bid that sent shockwaves through the collecting world. This coin, in pristine, uncirculated condition and verified by expert grading services, fetched an incredible $5.14 million. It wasn't merely the rarity of the coin that accounted for its value, but the confluence of its condition, provenance, and the intense competition between two elite collectors determined to own this singular piece. The buyer, whose identity remains confidential to this day, was rumored to have waited decades for such an opportunity, outbidding rivals and setting a record that would redefine Canadian coin collecting forever. This sale wasn't just a transaction, it became a legend, often cited at numismatic conventions and coin shows as a shining example of how an unassuming nickel could command a king's ransom. Today, the hunt for the remaining 1961 Hanging 1 nickels continues. While circulated versions occasionally surface in estate collections or old change jars, finding a specimen in mint state remains exceptionally rare. Seasoned collectors and novices alike scan their collections in hopes of uncovering one of these elusive pieces, knowing that even a moderately preserved example could hold significant value. The broader story of the 1961 5-cent coin serves as a potent reminder of the mysteries and unexpected fortunes hidden in the everyday objects we often overlook. Every coin carries a history, but some, like the legendary 1961 Hanging 1, hold the power to rewrite it. As the years go by and the whereabouts of these rare coins become increasingly uncertain, their myth continues to grow. In the world of numismatics, value is often a mixture of rarity, story, and condition. And the 1961 Canadian 5-cent coin represents the perfect intersection of these factors. Its ascent from a minor die flaw to a multi-million-dollar artifact underscores the unpredictable and thrilling nature of collecting, where the ordinary can become extraordinary in the blink of an eye. For collectors, the dream of finding such a coin persists. Stories circulate of forgotten coin jars in grandparents' basements and old tins filled with loose change that might contain one of these priceless nickels. It's a testament to the enduring magic of numismatics, where history, chance, and fortune intermingle in the palm of your hand.